Many businesses are realizing that just using Amazon PPC is simply not good enough anymore. Everyone is using Amazon PPC. And I think people are looking beyond Amazon to drive that additional traffic, get additional sales, and ultimately rank your products higher beyond what Amazon offers as advertising solutions.
This is the E-commerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Hello and welcome back to the show. It's another week, another episode, and I'm Kiri Masters from Bobsled Marketing. Today we are running a conversation between Julie Spear and Stefan Jordev, who is our advertising director at Bobsled Marketing. And this conversation is a new one for us. We're talking about off Amazon advertising, specifically paid search and paid social, and how those types of pay-per-click advertising can reinforce your Amazon advertising and boost your Amazon sales. But before we get into that conversation, I wanted to share with you that we are going on the road this year. We're going to be visiting 10 plus cities across the US, doing Amazon lunchtime briefings where we're speaking with our clients and prospective clients and partners and sharing a presentation about our best practices that have emerged, themes regarding Amazon for brands, and also some tools that you can take away to assess your Amazon channel and look back in the future to see what has changed. So if you're interested in attending one of these workshops, you can go to bobsledmarketing.com, and we have a new section on our main menu called Events. Have a look there. We're going to read off the list: New York, LA, Boston, Houston, Austin, Dallas, New York again, Chicago, LA again, San Francisco, New York again, Raleigh, Charlotte, Denver, Tampa, and we're also going to be in Philadelphia in May for another conference. So it will be great to meet some listeners of the show. So again, just go to bobsledmarketing.com and find the events tab on our website and check out cities and dates that are going to work for you. So back to the program for today. Julie and Stefan are talking about off Amazon PPC. Some things that I think you should listen for during the conversation is, what is the imperative here? Why would you look outside of Amazon and be using third-party search and social platforms to drive traffic to Amazon? Previously, it wasn't really considered a good idea because of the walled garden concept of Amazon. Any traffic that you send to a product page or something like that, you really have no idea how that converted, if it converted, what, time on page, other kind of metrics that you can generally get from your own e-com store. But something's changed in the past year, and Julie and Stefan are going to talk about what's changed and why it makes a lot more sense now to be looking at external traffic sources to send to Amazon. They're also going to talk about when it's best to consider this strategy. It's not something that should just be done every time, how to set your budget, how to measure results. They're also going to talk about how off Amazon PPC through paid search and social platforms ties into DSP, or Amazon's demand side platform, which we talked about last week on this show. So how Amazon PPC, DSP, and paid search and paid social tie in together with your Amazon strategy. So I'll come back after the conversation and recap a couple of my key takeaways. So I'll catch you then.
Hi, and welcome to the E-commerce Braintrust podcast. I'm your co-host, Julie Spear, and joining me today, I have Stefan Jordev, who is Bobsled's advertising director. Welcome back to the podcast, Stefan.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks for having me again. Such an interesting topic we'll be discussing about today.
Yeah, PPC in and of itself, I find to be always an interesting topic. But today we're taking it in a slightly new direction. For those of you who've listened to our podcast for a while now, you know that we're very Amazon centric. We sleep, eat, and breathe Amazon. And we're still going to stay in the world of Amazon today, but we're going to add a new angle to it by talking about how to leverage off Amazon advertising opportunities to grow your Amazon presence and drive traffic to your Amazon listings. So it's Amazon with a twist today. And I thought there's no one better to join me in this conversation than Stefan. So why don't we dig right in so we can make this podcast just jam-packed with information for everybody listening. Stefan, why don't you talk to me a little bit about how you see what you would define as the off Amazon advertising opportunities that we're going to dig into today?
Well, Julie, when I think of January each passing year, we're always discussing about how competitive the Amazon landscape is. It feels like every year, every day, even there are new competitors joining Amazon, and just sellers are looking for new creative ways to stand out from the crowd and to drive traffic to their listings. And I think this is where the idea of off-Amazon advertising falls into place. I think many businesses are realizing that just using Amazon PPC is simply not good enough anymore. Everyone is using Amazon PPC. And I think people are looking beyond Amazon to drive that additional traffic, get additional sales, and ultimately rank your products higher beyond what Amazon offers as advertising solutions.
Yeah, I think, Amazon, as you know, especially, they up the game every day, it seems like, for the opportunities with PPC on Amazon. And there's definitely new ways to get your product in front of customer eyes on the platform. But the competition is so vast and so deep on Amazon that it's almost this insurmountable mountain for brands to really stand out in the crowd. And so pulling levers off Amazon, I think, is really key to standing out in the crowd. And when we're talking about off Amazon, where do you see the main focus being? Are you talking Google, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Facebook? Where would you kind of start this conversation about driving traffic from off Amazon to your brand?
I'm going to go with all of the above. I think people will be using social platforms or Google and Bing search platforms, anything that might be relevant and applicable to their product listings. Just so we can simplify this conversation and maybe talk about the specifics, I see the off Amazon targeting options as being either paid search, meaning Google, Bing, and paid social. When I talk about paid social on this podcast, I'm going to be talking mainly about Facebook and Instagram being part of Facebook. But like you said, people, depending on their goals, depending on their product, they can go to any additional traffic source they can think of. I can think of many instances when Pinterest be a good fit, probably LinkedIn for some product, but just for the purposes of this conversation, we can keep it focused around Google and Facebook mostly.
Yes, I think the world is vast when it comes to search and social media. So I think defining a focus for today is a good way to go.
I agree.
When would you use search versus social?
Well, ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the type of product, the goals, and just knowing your target audience well enough. I can definitely see using Google being an advantage just because if you're advertising on Amazon, you already have so much keyword data and you can instantly pull that data and start targeting those keywords on Google and start generating traffic from it. I would definitely see social as being a great partner to Amazon as well, especially for some product types. I'm realizing now the more narrowly your target audience is defined, the better partner social media is. But Ultimately, it's up to the business owner to distribute the marketing budgets per platform. And I think many business owners, many marketing managers are doing it by profitability.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely going the Google route, the Facebook route, or even just a combination of both is a decision that has to be made in-house. But ultimately, benefits can be observed from all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're touching on what is the start of any conversation when you're talking about a new marketing approach. It's the dollar signs. Where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck, and how much money should you allocate per effort? And so let's dig into that real fun part now. How would you approach setting your marketing budgets by adding these additional platforms into your marketing efforts for Amazon?
Well, while just the traffic and the benefits are beyond sales only, just the additional traffic, brand recognition you would get on your listings, advertising beyond Amazon, I'm really trying to be understanding of people's interest in generating return on investment from these advertising efforts. Having this in mind, I would still definitely recommend advertising on Amazon to be the starting point. I have several things that come to mind when I'm talking about advertising on Amazon. People are on the platform ready to buy, and they're typing in search queries which are relevant to your listing. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Having people ready to buy, looking for products on Amazon. Having this in mind, I can definitely see how going beyond Amazon might result with some lower ROI, but I definitely see this as being the next logical step. So when you have a certain amount of money to spend, I would invest in advertising on Amazon. And once I get a feeling that this is the potential of this platform, this is the ACOS I'm comfortable with, and now I want to go beyond it and get some additional revenue, this is when I would start distributing budget to Facebook and Google and all the other platforms.
So once you've kind of established your stride on Amazon, you have a good handle of your budget, your ACOS, the returns, all of that, then that would be the point that you would start looking at other avenues for advertising. Got it. Okay. And so when you talk about the kind of the buckets for advertising your products that are listed on Amazon, your biggest bucket for budget is obviously Amazon, because like you said, those are customers at the bottom of the funnel. They're there to buy. The next bucket that you'd look at would be, how would you define the other buckets where you could spend your money on advertising?
I would say I would split it 50-50 between Google and paid search and paid social. And like I always say, the beauty of digital advertising is in a matter of days, you will know which one performs well for you. I mean, that might be an overstatement, but relatively quickly, you will know which platform is a better fit for you. If you target your audience good enough, if you use the same creative, if you are leveraging all the features that these individual platforms offer, it is only a matter of time before you realize which one is a better fit for your product type. And then I would just start shifting budget toward the ones that works better for my product line.
That makes sense. It's all about going slow and being strategic and watching what happens and then responding.
Yep.
And I think there's a fourth bucket that I know, we're talking more and more about at Bobsled is Amazon's DSP. That's a whole episode in and of itself, DSP. But could you give us a kind of a Cliff Notes version of what DSP is and what role it could play in a brand's overall advertising efforts?
Absolutely. So yeah, at this point, I'm looking at DSP almost as an identical platform as Google or Facebook are. This is something that you want to do once you're comfortable with the sales you're generating and ROI you have. This is a platform that's owned by Amazon that allows you to target potential customers beyond Amazon. You can do it on the Amazon platform or beyond, either the websites that Amazon owns, such as IMDb, or a third-party owned sites. But DSP is another investment you can make into launching your products beyond Amazon. The one thing that I think distinguishes DSP from these other platforms is this is also an Amazon-owned platform, and they have so much data beyond keywords. So DSP offers so many rich targeting options that you can just make it to an extent where you can just identify your ideal buyer, and you can go in and start targeting people with those demographic features on DSP.
I was going to say that DSP is similar to search and social. You're looking closer to the top of the funnel. These aren't necessarily customers that are ready to click add to cart.
Yes, absolutely. So that needs to be said for DSP as well. These are people who are just either have shown interest in your product or are just people you have targeted that you think would be a good fit for the products you sell. But these are not necessarily on Amazon. These are people who are online. And this is another platform where I would expect lower ROI. And I think even historic data shows this. But it is definitely something that can be beneficial for brands who are looking to generate more traffic to their listings or just reinforce their brand presence online.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that little synopsis of what DSP is, because I think we're only at the beginning of DSP as an advertising option for brands. With Amazon, I think it's going to grow from where it is right now. But like you said, this is a vast, vast topic that we're digging into today. So we'll narrow our focus and go back to search and social. When you mentioned this briefly, when you're talking about budgets and you mentioned the different targeting methods, can you talk to me a little bit about the targeting methods that people have as options on both search and social?
Absolutely. So the one thing I want to point out is when we were talking about Google versus Facebook, usually we're talking about keyword targeting versus demographics targeting. I want to point out that these platforms have so many rich targeting options that I would probably miss out many of them if I tried to cover them all. Basically, these are unique, and Google is more known about the keyword targeting it offers, and Facebook is more known about the demographic targeting it offers. But all these platforms have such unique abilities to target your target audience. I just think it only comes down to the brand knowing who their ideal customers are. If you have a good idea about who you want being on your product listing and purchasing your products, it will be easy enough to target them on any platform of your choosing. And if I can just make a quick parallel between these platforms and DSP, this is, I think, a great connection to make, because if you are using all of these platforms and you're using DSP as well, I think translating the targeting options between them should be easy enough. If you're targeting an audience at a certain location, or if you're retargeting your website visitors, or if you're creating lookalike audiences based on a file you have for qualified customers or people who have visited your website or signed up for your newsletter or anything like that, I just think the targeting options between all of these are very similar. And if you have that idea or data behind it to target ideal customers, it should be easy enough on all of them.
This sounds very optimistic. I like it. So kind of playing the devil's advocate here, and I think this gets to the quintessential issue that a lot of brands struggle with when they think about Amazon. You have your brand website, you have your Amazon presence, and balancing the role of both in the sales of your products is a real challenge. So how do you reconcile putting more money and advertising efforts going off of Amazon to advertise your Amazon presence? How do you address concerns that brands might have about cannibalizing the traffic to their own website, to their brand website?
Well, at this point, I would just like to say that this is a valid concern. A lot of times you will have to make a clear decision whether you want to be driving your traffic on your website or on Amazon. I definitely think that brands are now in favor of driving traffic to their website just because they want to get the additional traffic, usually selling from your website is less expensive than selling on Amazon just because of the fulfillment costs that they go with selling on Amazon. But there are several aspects that I want to share which actually favor driving traffic to Amazon. And I think just people who navigate to an Amazon landing page, I expect to convert better than a third-party website. And I think at this point, it's not really a concern about whether I will get my product. I think it's mostly because of the speed of service that Amazon offers. I can almost get my product in a matter of days. And also, I think the presence on Amazon and reviews, ratings you have, the social proof that Amazon offers on their listing might actually work in your favor. This is something that people are looking to see. People are analyzing when they're making a decision whether to go with the product you're selling or a competitor's one. And I just expect that navigating traffic to an Amazon listing or an Amazon storefront would have a better conversion rate than an independent third-party website.
Yeah, it's that the consumer trust, the customer trust that is tied to Amazon, with fulfillment being a part of it and the whole fulfillment cycle. It's the speed of delivery, it's the ease of delivery, it's the free delivery. And the other end of the fulfillment cycle is if you need an exchange or a return. All of the ease, the customers know it. They don't need to learn it. They know it with Amazon. So that's a piece of it. And then you touch on an important part of the social proof that's built in right there with the listings on Amazon. You've got the customer reviews. You have feedback and questions and answers about the product. So a lot of the information that's needed is all right there, and it's on a trusted site. So I think that that's definitely a case for driving to Amazon. And when you talk about driving the traffic to Amazon, what would you suggest so that brands are able to measure the impact of their efforts? Would it be driving traffic to the product display pages, the brand storefront? How do you really measure the impact, and what's the best approach for driving the traffic so you're able to measure the impact?
So I definitely recommend driving traffic to your Amazon storefront. And this is really interesting because I think not so long ago, when people were debating about driving traffic to Amazon, people were debating whether you should drive traffic to an individual product listing or a landing page you would create on your website that leads to that individual product listing. But I think just the storefronts becoming a very powerful feature on Amazon are basically the solution to this dilemma and the best of both worlds. You can drive traffic to your Amazon storefront, and once you do, you would have data about that traffic origin, where people found your products and clicked on the ad to go to the storefront. You can create individual tags, which will allow you to track the performance of individual campaigns. And I basically think this is having your own landing page on Amazon. So I definitely recommend navigating traffic to your Amazon storefront.
Yeah, the storefront is kind of the ultimate solution to that almighty
it is.
quest that PPC deals with when struggling with attribution. The storefront is the end all there.
Yep.
Just as we kind of wrap up our conversation today about the opportunity that off Amazon targeting efforts can offer brands selling products on Amazon, are there any specific strategies or platforms you'd recommend, one over the other, for different Amazon goals? So if a brand is brand new to Amazon and they're celebrating their launch in general on Amazon, or they're celebrating a specific product launch, or, you hit a plateau of some kind in Q1 going into Q2, or if you're targeting specific holidays or Prime Day, are there different strategies that you would recommend or employ based on all of those scenarios that I just threw at you?
Absolutely. So this is where I make the distinction. I would recommend having a conversation about strategies and tactics, not really a conversation which concludes with you choosing a preferred platform. I definitely recommend having I think this is something we discussed on a previous webinar where we had another colleague join. I think it's definitely great if you have a promotional calendar, if you are advertising on certain holidays, or if you are advertising certain promotions or discounts that you have, and just driving traffic to products which already have some lightning deals, coupons, or any kind of promotions running on them. So I definitely think having a strategy in place is the first most important thing to have. But this doesn't really necessarily mean this strategy would be better if we go with this platform. Just if you have your goals and if you have allocated budget towards them, I don't think you should be excluding any type of platform you want to utilize to achieve those goals. So if you have a promotional marketing calendar or just general advertising calendar for a year, for the next few months, I think you should be allocating budget in accordance to reaching those goals. And like I said, for most of the marketing managers, I think the solutions will be obvious relatively early.
So essentially what you're saying is the key is not necessarily prioritizing one platform over another based on your goals. The key is really being clear on what your goals are, being clear on what your budget is, and then having a comprehensive strategy where the off Amazon effort is just one thread, and then pulling together a strategy that ties all the threads together. That's key to success if you're to include this lever. That makes sense. Because if you have 4 strategies running in parallel, but they're not woven together, it could be just throwing money out there and kind of missing out on some opportunities. So really being, not to use the word too much, but strategic and weaving those threads together can really pack a punch in achieving the goals that you're aiming for.
Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Thanks so much for your time today, Stefan. It was great talking to you again and digging into another angle of advertising as related to Amazon. You offered some insightful comments and a new perspective here. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks for having me again, Julie.
All righty. Well, until next time, please join us again for another episode of the E-commerce Braintrust.
That was a really illuminating conversation. It's obvious that a lot of things have changed just even in the last year with this strategy, because like I mentioned at the top of the show previously, if we were going to run direct traffic to Amazon, we'd be running it to a product page or maybe like a keyword landing page or something like that. And there was no way to know how much traffic arrived, how it converted, anything like that. There was no attribution at all, or there still is no attribution if you're sending traffic to a product page. But with storefronts now, we're able to get some of that analytics. We're able to see traffic by channel, what ended up converting, and then we can actually figure out, are we getting an ROI from this effort? So that's a big change. And looking behind Amazon's reason to do that, because they didn't have to do it, it tells me that they are especially interested in having brands and vendors who are willing to invest in outside branding and outside advertising. What's far less attractive to Amazon is a brand that's only established on Amazon, might only be using that platform and not selling anywhere else. Amazon's not interested in just getting those sales. They want to be getting the sales of your brand from your e-com site, from Walmart, from Target, from anywhere else. And so they understand that if a brand's investing in marketing outside of Amazon, then that effort is going to show up on Amazon. And even better if direct traffic can be sent to Amazon. So they love the fact that brands would potentially be willing to drive outside traffic to their site. And in exchange, they needed to give up a little bit more data. The other interesting thing to tie in here, and we mentioned it a couple of episodes ago on this podcast, is that there's a new to brand metric. It's a new metric that you can get from your advertising, through your advertising reports, called new to brand. And this is an exceptional metric for brands to be looking at. Do we consider Amazon simply a distribution channel and we're only selling to customers who are already familiar with our products and familiar with our brands? Or can we also view Amazon as a customer acquisition channel? And by releasing this new to brand metric, Amazon's really putting its hand up and saying, yes, we feel good enough about our platform being an acquisition channel that we're going to display this metric. So with these two things combined, with the analytics that you can get from the storefront about traffic attribution and this new to brand metric, it starts to make this whole concept of driving external traffic to Amazon a lot more attractive because you're actually able to see some kind of numerical benefit to it. So a couple of other takeaways that I got from this conversation is this is something to consider once your Amazon PPC is more or less up and running and optimized and you're getting a good ROI from that. That's the most obvious place to go if you're looking for an ROI is actual direct sales from ads on Amazon. And then as Stefan outlined as well, there's a lot of similarities in the kind of brand awareness, product awareness effects that you can get from both DSP and this effort around paid search and paid social. So you could kind of look at those two options alongside one another. The targeting is really rich with all of those platforms. You can target by interest, whether a shopper is in market for something, they've already been researching products in your category, by demographic, repurchasing behavior as well. So this is definitely next level above and beyond PPC. But again, it's something that you would not be looking to get an immediate ROI from. So if that's the primary goal, focusing in on your AMS or social or Seller Central advertising is your best first initiative. So we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And just a reminder from the top of the show, if you're interested in meeting us in person and coming along to one of our lunchtime Amazon briefings, just go to our website, bobsledmarketing.com, find the events page from the top menu, and you'll see all the cities that we're coming to and the dates and be able to register to attend from there. I'll catch you next week.